Welcome to the Bitcoin Boomer Show. Here's your host, the Bitcoin Boomer himself, Gary Leland.
And welcome to the Bitcoin Boomer Show. I'm your host, Gary Leland, known as the Bitcoin Boomer, the old fart, the geezer, whatever you want to call me. Now that I just turned 70 last week, I'm feeling like a boomer for sure, or an old person for sure. But you know, there's one thing that old people and young people both have in common. We both like Bitcoin, and we both like learning about Bitcoin. So please stay tuned to the show, because this is a show where we teach you about Bitcoin. All we do on this show is bring you great guests, many of them friends of mine, and we talk about Bitcoin. Not trying to sell you any Bitcoin. That's not my goal here. We talk about one thing, though, Bitcoin. Now, there's 20,000 cryptocurrencies. I don't talk about any of those, just Bitcoin. So if you're interested in Bitcoin, or you know anyone who you think would benefit from this show, please share it with them, and make sure you subscribe to the show on YouTube so that you can get future episodes delivered to you. Now today we have a friend of mine, Julie. Julie is the host of the Bay Area Bitcoiners. She's the head of sales at Bitblock Boom, the head of sponsorship sales, and she's been a Bitcoiner since 2020, so going on her 5th year here. Now, bring on my great host, Stephanie. Stephanie, you're the person who talks to the guests and sets up everything with them. What did you think of Julie, and just your thoughts?
Thoughts are Julie works with you at Bitblock Boom, and that's coming up. So it'll be really interesting to hear about her story, how she got started with you and Bitcoin in general. And yeah, just kind of learning more about your circle of friends and your, conference too, since that's longest, it's in its 8th year, I think?
8th year, longest running Bitcoin conference on the planet.
So
in the universe.
In the universe. There you go. In the entire multiverse.
Yes, in the multiverse. we can go out as far as we want to. I guess in the other multiverses, there may be another version of Bitblock Boom that we'd be tied with. And one of them might even be older than ours, actually. And some may be shorter. But that's a weird thing to talk about. But anyway, we're going to talk about Bitcoin today. We've got a great guest. We're going to have a great show. So do stay tuned. And like I said, remember to share the show with your friends. And remember, and I'll probably say this again during the show, this is the Bitcoin Boomer because I'm a boomer and I like Bitcoin, not because it's for boomers. So share this show with anyone you know. We'll be right back after this word from our sponsor. See you then. And welcome back. One of the things I love about this show is, first of all, talking about Bitcoin. I really enjoy talking about Bitcoin. I've been talking about Bitcoin for about 9 years now, and I'm still not tired of it. I also enjoy the fact that I get to bring on friends and make new friends in the Bitcoin world. So this is a great show to host. And I do want to make sure you know, the purpose of the show is just to educate you about Bitcoin. That's it. I don't have any Bitcoin I want to sell you. My hosts aren't trying to sell you Bitcoin. We just want to educate you about Bitcoin. So when the time comes that you are in a situation you want to start buying Bitcoin, that you realize it's the thing you need to do, you're kind of educated on it already. So this is a great show for education. Please share the show with any of your friends who you think might have an interest in Bitcoin. And if you're interested in learning more about Bitcoin, please check out my Bitcoin conference, Bitblock Boom. Now, Bitblock Boom is celebrating its 8th year, and we're in Dallas, Texas this year. It's a great event. It's the longest running Bitcoin conference on the planet, as far as I know. If someone can prove me wrong, please send me that information. But if you want to learn about Bitcoin, if you want to meet other people who are involved in Bitcoin, go to bitblockboom.com. Our conference is in April, so do check it out right away. Now, on today's show, I'm bringing you a friend of mine, Julie. Julie is a Bitcoiner. She's the host of the Bay Area Bitcoin Meetup Group, and she's in sponsorship sales at Bitblock Boom. Julie, welcome to the show.
Hello, Gary.
It's great to have you here. Let me ask you a question. Are you as excited about Bitcoin right now as I am? I think I'm the most excited I've ever been. And I've seen it go up, I don't know how many percents, 100, 200, 300%. And I'm more excited about it now than ever. What are your thoughts on that statement there, and how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, the sentiment around Bitcoin is really good. Obviously, with Trump being pro Bitcoin, it's just changed everything. We're the number one FUD, I guess, one of the biggest feedback I got was, oh, what if the government bans Bitcoin? And, there was that was a legitimate concern because it's kind of working against the dollar fiat. So now that concern is gone, and it's just really good vibes for Bitcoin right now.
You're 100% right. That is something people would say, especially in the early days. There's no way the United States government's going to let that exist. There's no way. Right. I don't know how many times I heard that in the past. So you're definitely right about that. We've seen a little bit of a dip here from like 110 to now today. I think it's $89,000 or $90,000, which really is a small dip. People are, it's down to $20,000. Bet you're wishing you sold. And I was going, gosh, when it went from 20,000 to 4,000, I'm glad I didn't sell. And I think you said you're the class of 2020. So I guess you saw it go from almost 70,000 down to 17,000 and didn't sell. Right. So, I mean, what about us makes us so crazy that even though something drops 70% in value, we still don't sell? I mean, because people just think you're crazy if you tell them that.
Well, I think once you fall down that rabbit hole and you learn what Bitcoin is, you just think, oh, I got to get more of it. And you just know, I guess they call it the low time preference. You just know that it's valuable. And you just don't want to, you want to hold on and just stack more. And I think once you like really learn Bitcoin and understand it, you have that conviction and you're not worried about the price volatility. And when it goes down, you're like, oh, it's on sale. Sometimes I get nervous when it goes up too much, thinking, oh man, like we're going to miss our opportunity. Now all the institutions are going to get in. And, it's like our time to front run is when it goes down. So, I mean, I think Bitcoiners have high conviction and they're not worried about the price.
I think there's a couple of things you said that are real interesting. Number one is that front running. In all reality, this is the first thing that we, or at least ways in modern times, that the average Joe had a chance to front run. I mean, before corporations got into it, which is amazing by itself. Number two is the on sale. Kathy, as long as she's been watching my life in Bitcoin, still the other day, after dropping from 110 to, I think we got down to 79, maybe we broke just under 80. She's like, are people on X, are they talking about selling? I'm going, no, Kathy. No one I'm following is selling. They're all excited dancing about buying because it's on sale. You just go, oh, okay. Yeah. So that is, you're right. Once you fall down that Bitcoin rabbit hole, you understand it and you like look at the dips as being on sale, and it only takes you one or two of them to like get over that being concerned. I mean, of course you want it to go up forever, but it's not going to. But you're right there. You get these points where it's on sale, and that's how we look at it.
Yeah. My friend called me the other day when it went down to like 80 something, and she's like, Julie, I'm really nervous. This is like, my first kind of, venturing into Bitcoin. And I just told her, don't worry about it. Don't look at the price. It will go up. And just study more and learn more. And then you won't get nervous about these things.
You're right. But, I think it is hard for someone and we know it's hard. It's not that I think. Someone bought at 110. That's a lot of money. I mean, they might not have bought a whole Bitcoin, but that's a high price for Bitcoin. And then it goes down to 80. We're talking a 20% loss or so. And the average person who hasn't been in it, and that's really the real shame of it. The average person that gets into it at 110 or at a high, whatever the high is, they get scared, which is understandable. They don't have someone to go to that's got experience in it that can tell them that they know. I mean, they can see talking heads on TV, but it's not someone they know to make them feel comfortable. And they sell, and they've sold at a loss, and then within 6 months, it's above where they sold it at and above where they had even bought it at. It's just so many people get washed out.
Yeah, it's true. I just say, at any point, if you take years, there's always, I think, what is it, like a 30% or 50% annualized increase. But you just have to kind of look in like a larger time frame, not just a month or 2 months. And then, I just kind of reiterate, there's 21 million, that's it. And by design, it's going to go up. So I'm going to send her this podcast and tell her to watch all the episodes so that she can kind of learn more and be not nervous about price.
Well,
I think that's is education.
Well, it's understandable that they need education. They're new in it. They haven't been down the rabbit hole since 2020 like you. With time, it brings more comfort in that space there for sure. I know so many people need to, what people really need to do is when they're getting into Bitcoin, they need to commit to themselves. They're going to lock up those funds in Bitcoin for 4 years. If they can do that, no one, I think, in the history of Bitcoin has lost money over a 4-year period. So if they can lock up those funds for 4 years with Bitcoin, they're going to be in the green, in the green, like our wall here. But some people don't have that conviction. They're thinking it's an easy play. I'm just going to buy this. It's going to go up in 6 months. I'm going to sell it. They're kind of confusing it with stocks. And I'll tell you what, we're getting ready for a commercial break. So let's go to this break, and we'll be right back with Julie and talking more about Bitcoin. And welcome back. Bring Julie back on and let's start talking some more about Bitcoin. Julie, thanks again for joining us today. Hey, before we go any further, what is your definition of Bitcoin? What is Bitcoin to Julie?
Bitcoin, in a broad sense, is a technology that allows people to save their time and energy in a very pure way that can't be manipulated. I guess it's a form of money that's very pure, and it radiates many facets because money touches everything. Our energy touches everything. It's part of life. But yeah, I would consider it a technology that allows us to save our time and energy.
Well, that's kind of a very Michael Saylor-y kind of answer there.
Yeah. I think that's why it kind of touches so much of everything of the world and our lives, because we exist with energy, and we exist to save for the future, for next generation.
And speaking of Michael Saylor-y, what do you think of MicroStrategies? We don't talk about that very often on this show, but you and I were talking about it a little bit in the pre-show. I originally got into MicroStrategies because I looked at it like an ETF, and there weren't any ETFs. I know it's not an ETF, but at the time, it was as close to an ETF as you could get. But now there are ETFs out, and I've dabbled in ETFs and moved out of that. What are your thoughts on MicroStrategies?
So I was like you. I bought MicroStrategy before ETFs, and I think when you do the math, it was way undervalued in terms of how much Bitcoin they were having on their balance sheet. So I really liked MicroStrategy at the time, and when the ETFs came out, I thought that people would transition into the ETFs because if they were using MicroStrategy as a Bitcoin proxy, they were going to go into ETFs. So I sadly sold a lot of my shares, but I held on to some, and I love it because now I have both the ETFs and strategies, but the volume and the volatility on strategy now, by the way, it's called strategy now. They took out micro. So I'll call it strategy.
I have a hard time with that. I'm so ingrained in saying MicroStrategies. I have a hard time. Yeah. Thank you.
So I do some options trading, and strategy has a ton of volatility that makes it very attractive for options trading. So I think I'll do what you do, like kind of transition more into strategy and out of the ETFs, because I love the options volatility on strategy.
It's not that this is stock advice to anyone, but it is up 24% since Monday morning when markets opened, and this is a Tuesday. So it is. But then again, I've seen it go down 30% in 2 days.
Exactly.
But it's like Bitcoin.
It's got a lot of volatility, which so it goes up a lot more than regular spot price, and it goes down more. But it's also that makes it attractive for options trading, and it's I think I'm gonna try to do more of that versus just regular ETFs.
So another thing I always like to ask everybody on this show is, what was your orange pill moment? How did you not only find out about Bitcoin, but what happened that made you say, wow, I need to start buying Bitcoin? Because that's the difference. There's a difference between finding out about Bitcoin. I was told about it 3 times before I actually understood it. So tell us your orange pill moment.
Yeah, I think people say you have like few touches before you get into Bitcoin. And I definitely heard a lot about it in 2017. I was very interested in it, but I never really learned about it. And people kind of, when I asked people, they said, "Oh, it's too speculative," and so I just never got into it until the pandemic. I saw that there was so much money being given out by the government, and it was just like free money, right, to companies, to people. And I was just thinking, where is this money coming from? And then I saw that, the stock market crashed and then it went up like really fast. And it just felt so manipulated. And I started questioning where it's coming from. And when I learned that it was actually just like being created out of thin air, I started, investigating more about like money, and I need a good store of value. And then I don't remember exactly how, like what the moment was, but I did find about Bitcoin, and I started just reading up and listening to podcasts, came to Bitblock Boom. And then just fell right in. I fell right in the rabbit hole, and just haven't been able to really get out. And I love to learn about Bitcoin, meet Bitcoiners. I think Bitcoiners are the most like interesting and smartest people. So I guess that the pandemic, seeing all the money printing, that was kind of my orange pill moment.
Well, I have to agree with you that Bitcoiners are some of the smartest people. Whenever I'm in a room of Bitcoiners, I often feel like I'm the dumbest person in the room. And evidently, I was hanging out with the wrong people before because I never felt that way. So, so I always think you should surround yourself with people smarter than you. And now I am constantly surrounded by people smarter than me. So that must be a good move there. I find a lot of people that go down this rabbit hole cannot satisfy that need for information once they do actually go down the rabbit hole. I think every book now that I read or listen to is a Bitcoin book. I don't know when the last time. I think the last book I read that wasn't Bitcoin related was The Creature from Jekyll Island, which is money related. So,
Right.
I don't know. I recently bought a Tesla, so I have watched some videos lately that weren't Bitcoin, but it was just to teach me how to use my Tesla, because it's like learning how to use a computer. So Bitcoin really changes your whole way of thinking once you get in there. And do you find that, if you're going to buy something and you go, I could buy this, but gosh, for that much money, I could own a tenth of a Bitcoin. Do I really want to spend $10,000 on this item? Or I'm just making up a dollar amount now. But I'm using 10,000 as my example. Do I want to spend 10,000 on this item, or would I rather buy a tenth of a Bitcoin? And you start going, well, you know what? I think I'll buy the tenth of the Bitcoin because I can go longer without that $10,000 item. And then I could buy 5 of them with what the tenth of a Bitcoin will turn into. Do you find your thought patterns are like that? Which they never were for me before Bitcoin. I just would buy the $10,000 item instead of like deciding which was more needed, the Bitcoin or the item.
Yeah, for sure. That's it. I mean, you got to do what brings you joy, right? You can't just like live in a, cave and like eat like just, rice. And it gives me joy to buy Bitcoin, but it also gives me joy to, eat nice things and travel. And so you got to kind of, space it, like you got to figure out what is right for you. But I do prioritize Bitcoin more because I know that it's for the future and I can afford more things with it later.
Yeah, I agree. It's there's an inherent growth in value in the Bitcoin, and it could happen rapidly. Hey, we'll be right back after this word from our sponsor with more from Julie and more Bitcoin talk. So stay tuned. And welcome back to the Bitcoin Boomer Show. Before we go on with our guest, I do want to let you know something. I have helped write a book. There were 8 of us that wrote a book called Bitcoin and the American Dream. And I want you to be aware of this book because this book is a great educational book about Bitcoin. It's something you could read on a flight. So if you want to help someone find out about Bitcoin, check out Bitcoin and the American Dream. Just go to Amazon and search for it and you'll find it. Great book, great information. I hope you read it today. And now back to Julie. Okay, Julie, let's get back on the stick here on the show here. I want to find out about Bay Area Bitcoiners. Now, I know you're the host of that. I was looking at the site and it doesn't look like it's a meetup group. It looks like it's lots of meetup groups. Am I right? Was I seeing that right? Is it like a footer for a holder for groups that are in the Bay Area?
Yeah, so it started out as one group in San Francisco, and my friend Billy, he started during the pandemic. It was a small group, and then it just got bigger, and then people started saying, "Why don't we do a group in areas around the Bay because Bay is so big?" So, just like people started doing meetups in their neighborhood. So my neighborhood is Peninsula, so I'm doing that one. I have South Bay, which is in San Jose. There's Santa Cruz. There's North Bay, which is like Napa area. there's Oakland, there's Concord. I'm sure I'm missing some, but there's like 8 different groups now because the Bay Area is so huge, and it's just hard to get to somewhere like on a weekday. So and then we try to do like a Christmas party where all the meetups get together, so we could kind of see each other. I haven't been to all the Bay Area meetups just because it's just huge, and there's so many.
Well, that's a really good idea, though. So anytime you're coming to the Bay Area, you can use your site and find out, okay, I'm going to be here. Yeah. I'm going to be in Napa. Okay, here's the Bitcoin group for Napa. Here's blah, blah, blah. Because I enjoy going to meetups when I go to other places, meeting. Yeah. That's a really good idea.
Yeah, it's just very casual. I like to have short presentations by anyone that wants to talk about what they're working on. We've had, I think Damien, he's going to be at Bitblock Boom. He does a Prism, so he's done presentations. We've had Casey, who does inscriptions. Had Erin, his friend that does she does inscription artwork and astrology stuff. And I like to do a little bit of some educational things, and then we just chat and catch up about Bitcoin stuff. But it's just like a fun place to go and hang out and meet Bitcoiners, and I've developed strong friendships through that group, and it's very important to have local.
Did you so was that hard to build that site where, because I mean you're not entering that stuff manually, it's picking it up off of Meetup. Did you build that site? Was it hard to build?
No, I didn't do that site. And then we just tell him like when we schedule our meetups, and then he puts it up there.
Oh, okay. So someone does actually manually put up the meetups. It doesn't pull them off of the meetup page.
Ooh, I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Not sure how he does.
Yeah, because I would think you'd have that just go to the particular meetups, and every time a new entry. I'd like to find. I think I should probably do that for Dallas Fort Worth. That would certainly help out the meetup groups. Because you have some that are real educational heavy, and some like mine, which are just let's get together and eat some barbecue and talk about Bitcoin. And it's Dallas Fort Worth, 30-mile distance in the middle there, so there are a lot of meetups in that area. So yeah.
How many meetups are there in that area?
7, 8. I mean, at least 7 or 8. So I would guess. I mean, I think it'd be a lot more if you counted crypto, of course, which we don't want to count those. But 7 or 8. So I need to look at that. That's a great idea to do that.
I'll ask Billy how he does it.
Yeah, I would be interested in finding out. Yeah, for sure. So let's get back. Now I'm talking about things I'm interested in. I don't know if anyone else is interested in the Dallas Fort Worth meetup groups, but
I think all Bitcoiners should go to meetup.
Yes, I agree completely. Hey, do you what are your thoughts? Let's talk about wallets. Are you like a big believer in like multi-sigs necessary, or do you think just put it on a hot wallet? I know what the answer is going to be, I think, but let's talk wallets a little bit for the people who are not that familiar with wallets. What are your thoughts on wallets, and what do you think people should be doing?
I think wallets are important, but it takes some dedication and time. I feel like for some people, it's just better not to do it if they are not going to practice and, make sure that they don't lose it or lose their seed. I've had people like call me and, kind of freak out. And so, yeah, I think it's if you're going to put time into it, then definitely do it. If you're not, then, I wouldn't want anyone to lose their Bitcoin. So,
and
I think
I've had that happen.
A wallet.
I've had that happen, Julie. I
Yeah.
told someone to move it to a Treasure off of Coinbase, and then they lost their password and their seed phrase within a month.
Yeah.
Luckily, they didn't have much on there, but as I always say, it's you're becoming your own bank. When you do that, basically.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of Bitcoin.
Yeah, but being your own bank is a great responsibility, and
Yeah.
or great power. And with great power comes great responsibility. It means you've got to keep up with what's going on there.
Right. And you got to practice. Make sure you don't lose the seed. I like multi just because, it's just more security. But again, that's going to take more time and energy. So I think if you're going to do it, commit to it and take time to learn it and practice. And once you go down that route, I would recommend multi-sig just for additional security, both physically and to protect your Bitcoin, but also for your own self, like make sure that you won't get that, $5 wrench attack thing. So multi-sig and then spread it out so there's nothing someone could do.
Well, I think that's the reason ETFs are so popular.
Yeah.
Is because people don't understand, nor do they want to learn how to do a wallet. But they know they get exposure through ETFs and they don't have to do anything but buy it like a stock.
Right. Yeah, I think my friend, we went through this and she used BlockFi, I think, and then she kind of lost her Bitcoin. So she's had a bad experience. So she just wants it safe somewhere where she doesn't have to manage it. So I told her, just don't do it. Don't keep anything on exchange. But I think ETFs and like Fidelity actually has a crypto platform where you could actually buy Bitcoin and they custody it 1-to-1, or so they say. And I think Fidelity is pretty credible. So I think that's a better route for someone like her who's scared to lose her Bitcoin. Yeah. So I think ETFs or the Fidelity crypto account, which actually holds a Bitcoin in their custody, not like Coinbase. I think that's a good option.
Yeah. People have every right, if they understand tech, to feel uncomfortable with holding their own Bitcoin and setting up a wallet. It sounds really complicated, and it is to a degree, but not as complicated as people make it out to be. Okay, we're going to go to a break from our sponsor. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back. See you in a minute. And welcome back to the show. We're joined today by Julie. Julie, welcome back to the show. You said something earlier I meant to cover it that I'm going to get back to now. You were talking about your orange pill moment that in 2020, everybody was getting the rebates during COVID. I saw a thing not too long ago. I'm not sure how much those rebates were, like $2,000, $4,000 or something that people were getting. Maybe it was $2,000. That if you held that and put it in Bitcoin back in 2020, it's now worth like $30,000 or something if you'd held it in Bitcoin instead of spending it. That's kind of mind-boggling that it would go up that fast. But that sounds about right, now that I'm thinking about it, because Bitcoin during COVID dropped back down to like $4,000 or $5,000. So it must have been 25% of a Bitcoin that you could buy with that.
Wow.
Yeah, that's kind of mind-boggling. It's kind of mind-boggling that Bitcoin has gone from 5 cents to $100,000 in like 15 years or whatever. That's kind of mind-boggling. When you sit back and think about it. I guess that's why people think it's going to collapse all the time. It's just in the big scheme of things, it's moved so fast in the pricing structure or the price of it. But I actually think Bitcoin has a better chance now of going to $1 million than it does going to zero. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, for sure. Especially with all the money in circulation, the dollars in circulation, everything is going to go up, and especially Bitcoin because it's a set supply, and people are learning the value of it. And yeah, like what we talked about with the government not, actually being pro Bitcoin and there's no concern of the government banning it. It's a true asset. It's a pure asset. So I don't see how it would go down to zero. I think I watched a podcast with Adam Back, and he was saying he thinks this cycle it will go to like 500,000. Yes. Something crazy. And this was before the strategic reserve announcement.
And Mao's the same way. Samson Mao.
Yeah, I said that. I'm sorry, what was that?
Samson Mao's like the same thinking, except I think he thinks $1 million this cycle.
Right. So I mean, I don't know. Who knows? I think people now see that there's so much inflation and there's so much debt, and you just have to keep printing money just to cover the debt, and people are seeing that. So I think people are going to just start doing what we did. Where do we store our value? Where do we store our time? It shouldn't be in dollars, and it shouldn't be in things that, inherently you buy with dollars. Bitcoin is like, you price it in dollars, but Bitcoin is Bitcoin, and there's only going to be 21 million, probably less, because so many are lost. But
probably close to 16 million.
People are seeing that, and there's going to be a shift, like very soon.
Yeah, I think you're right about that, though. It's probably about 16 million in all actuality. Not every millionaire could buy one, and a millionaire definitely would want more than, or not a millionaire, but even every billionaire probably couldn't get one. I mean, in the world, I mean, it's so many are taken. Like MicroStrategies has 500,000, so you're not getting those. That cut 499,000 people out of having one. You're not getting any of mine, and probably not getting any of yours. We know what's going on here, but if Bitcoin just performs like it has every other cycle, we're talking about a shift in how people live, and people now are moving from regular Joes into becoming rich people. Even though they're still regular Joes, they're now having a lot of wealth, at their disposal. Not that they're wanting to spend it because of the fact Bitcoin is going up so much. So it's really kind of crazy to believe. I think that we're going to see more money printing.
Yeah.
And when we see more money printing, we're going to see Bitcoin going up again. And talking about Trump and the people around him, do you think that he has it that you have to be a believer in crypto to be a member of his cabinet? I think everybody on his cabinet's a Bitcoiner. I mean, it's kind of crazy. It's not like just him and JD or him and Elon. It's like everybody. Kennedy has. I mean, everybody has some Bitcoin that, as far as I can tell, that's associated with them.
Yeah. Sachs, I guess. He's like the crypto. I think he understands Bitcoin.
Yeah. Is that it? Who's that?
David Sachs. He's a crypto AI czar.
And the guy who's the head of the Treasury or whatever, I think he has like $1 billion worth of Bitcoin or something. Oh. So I mean, he's surrounding himself with big Bitcoin bulls for sure, which is a great thing for Bitcoin. So, like I said, this is not financial advice, but gosh, it's kind of hard to go from see where we were there 4 years with Biden, where they were attacking Bitcoin with choke point 1, choke point 2, and now where it's the complete flip.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, we're doing Bitcoin. We're not only doing Bitcoin, we're going to put it in a strategic reserve. We're not only going to put it in a strategic reserve, we're going to start giving people money. They could buy Bitcoin with that money, I guess. So it is kind of amazing. Hey, before we go real quick, tell people, is there anything else you wanted to bring up in particular? Any point I didn't cover that you wanted to make sure and cover? We have about 3 minutes left here, so I want to make sure we cover it. Is there anything you wanted to announce or talk about or go over? Please let me know now. I don't want to skip out on something.
No, I mean, I think talk about BitBlock Boom, you should definitely come. Um, I am doing head of relations and sponsorships there. And that's kind of what that was one of my orange pill moments. My first one was in 2020. And, I was kind of getting into Bitcoin then and then started kind of going into like the coins. But after BitBlock Boom, I was like, okay, I got into Bitcoin, learned so much there. Met, you know, Bitcoiners that I follow, watched on podcasts, and they were so nice and coming to the space. Um, so yeah, I think that I want to share my experience with BitBlock Boom and how that's kind of been, game changer for my journey. And I think anyone that goes will, I know everyone that goes loves it. So definitely check that out. And then I told you that I'm going to go back to lawyering a little bit. I'm going to be a lawyer again. But I hope that I can meet some Bitcoin companies and help them out if they need employment help. That's what I do, employment defense.
Oh, I didn't know what you did. That's good to know. I knew you were a lawyer, but that's all I knew. Well, Julie, where can people find you at if they want to follow you?
I'm on X. I think is there a little. It's Lucky Juju B.
Yeah, I see it. It's down there.
Yeah, and then I'm also on Noster. It's Jules at jujub.space.
Well, sweet. Well, Julie, I do appreciate you coming on the show, and I've enjoyed talking with you. We've known each other for quite a while now, it seems. I guess since 2020 or 2021 when you came to BitBlock Boom. I still remember when we first met. So, and then I met you again the next year at BitBlock Boom. So I do appreciate you coming on the show, and I appreciate your involvement with BitBlock Boom. You've been a big asset, and I appreciate your help, and I like having you as a friend. So thanks for coming on the show, and thanks for being a fellow Bitcoiner.
Thank you so much.
And thanks. And we'll be right back after these words from our sponsor, so please stay tuned. We've got a little bit more for you. I think you're going to enjoy, so do stay tuned. We'll see you in just a minute. And welcome back to the show. I hope you've enjoyed today's show with Julie. Julie was a great person to talk to. I've known her probably since 2020, maybe 2020. And she's become a good friend of mine. That's why she started working with BitBlock Boom on sponsorship sales. But I hope you learned something today about Bitcoin. As I said at the beginning of the show, that's my only goal, is to help you learn about Bitcoin. And I want to bring my great producer, Stephanie, on the show. Stephanie, we always bring you on the end to get your info, your thoughts from the peanut gallery over there. What did you think of Julie today?
Julie was great. My main impression was that she's like everyone like us who went through the pandemic, weren't sure, were scared, saw things happen. And for her, it was to dive into Bitcoin and learn more. And obviously it's worked out. She has a relationship with BitBlock Boom and you. And, I'm glad that's giving her like security and the asset building that it sounds like she's doing with Bitcoin and holding on to it. So that's really cool to hear. That story is like every person, every man, every woman. So that was cool.
And I think it was also interesting hearing how she not only bought Bitcoin in 2020, which went up to $60,000, $70,000, but held on to it when it dropped back down to 17,000. That's where the real fear factor comes in. When you see your investment dwindling down to nothing, but you have the faith and belief that it's worth holding on to instead of selling at a loss. That conviction,
it sounds like it's hard to come by in other situations, and even more so when you see something you put money into going up and then down so drastically.
Yeah, that's a big drop. That's like a 70% drop. But also, before we go, I do want to make sure you know again about Bitblock Boom, which we talked about a couple times during the show. Check out our site, bitblockboom.com, and check out our meetup. We do a meetup, not every month. We've slacked off lately, but we do it many months. Go to meetup.com/bitblockboom and join our wait list today to get notified about our next meetup. It's a great time, just usually eating barbecue, drinking a beer, and talking about Bitcoin. And also, before we go, I do want to make sure you know, please tell your friends about this show. Please share this show with your friends. If you know anyone who you think would benefit from knowing a little bit more about Bitcoin, share this show with them and maybe subscribe and give us a like on YouTube. We'd appreciate that too. So until next week, this is it for the Bitcoin Boomer Show. I'm the Bitcoin Boomer saying stack those sats. See you later.